so today we're going to pick up lesson 4.3 at example 3. It says determine which lines, if any, are perpendicular. So first of all, let's look at line A. The question that I have is line A in the correct form for us to identify or find the slope? Yes or no? No. So Yasmin, we have to put this line into what form in order to be able to find the slope? Y equals mx plus b. So Yasmin, what are we going to do first to do that?
Subtract 2x.
We're going to subtract 2x from both sides. Now, keep in mind when we bring down our problem, we cannot combine negative 3 and negative 2x. They are not alike. So we're going to bring the x term down first and the constant down second. Trevin, what am I going to do to finish this problem?
Divide 6.
Okay, I'm going to divide everything by 6. So y equals, Trevin, what happens to negative 2 over 6? Or negative 2 divided by 6?
It becomes negative 1.
Good. It reduces to negative 1/3 x. And Trevin, what happens to negative 3/6?
It will be negative 1/2.
Very good. Now, circle the line, or circle the equation. Don't box it in. Now, are we able to identify our slope?
Yes.
Yes. And what is our slope?
Negative 1/3.
Negative 1/3. Remember, our y equals mx plus b. M is our slope. So the coefficient of x is negative 1/3. All right, let's look at line B. Noah, is line B in the correct form for us to be able to find the slope?
Yes.
Yes. So what is our slope, Noah, for this line? 3. Again, y equals mx plus b. M is our slope, and that's the coefficient of x. All right, Deja, line C, is it in the correct form for us to easily find the slope?
No.
So what do we got to do first? Good. We're going to move the x term, and we're going to subtract 18x. So we have negative 6y equals, again, we're going to bring down that x term first, then bring down that constant. Dalton, how do we finish getting y by itself?
We divide by -6.
Good. We're going to divide every term by negative 6. So y equals, now a negative divided by a negative gives us a positive. Good. And 18 divided by 6 is 3, and we bring down that x. Perfect. A positive divided by a negative gives us a negative. And what is going to happen, Joshua Webster, to 9/6? It's going to reduce to 3/2. Perfect. Okay, circle the equation. Don't box it in. Now can we identify our slope? Yes, and what is it? 3. So here's the discussion that we now need to have. We are determining which lines, if any, are perpendicular. So let's take a minute and discuss. So here's what we've decided. Line A has a slope of negative 1/3. Line B has a slope that is positive, so that's the opposite of line A. And 3 is the reciprocal of 1/3. So line A is perpendicular to line B. But line C has the exact same slope as line B. So isn't line A and line C, aren't they also perpendicular? Yes. So here's your final answer. You ready? Write this down. Line B and C are both perpendicular to line A. Now that's the answer to this question, because this question said determine if any lines are perpendicular. However, if we wanted to go a little deeper, what else could we say is true about line B and line C? They are parallel because they have the same slope. Okay, but this question focused on perpendicular, so line A is perpendicular to both line B and line C. All right, example number 4. It says, write an equation of a line that passes through the given point and is perpendicular to the given line. So, just like yesterday, we have 3 steps to do this. Again, these 3 steps are almost identical to the steps that we learned in lesson 4.2. But what step is missing? Lesson 4.2 had 4 steps. This one only has 3. Which step is missing? Choosing a point. And again, why is that step missing? They already gave us 1 single point. So we don't need to choose a point. All right? So we start by finding the slope. Now again, it's a little different than lesson 4.2 because in 4.2, we were given 2 points and we used the slope formula. Here, we're given an equation. So the question that I have, is this equation in the correct form for us to find their slope? Yes. Okay. Joshua Eisenberg, what is the slope of their line? -3. Now here's my question. What's the slope of my line going to be? Alonzo? Remember, we want our lines, their line and our line are supposed to be perpendicular. So if their slope is -3, what is my slope or our slope supposed to be?
1/3.
All right, a positive 1/3. Let's check that. Their slope's negative, our slope's positive. Their slope is 3/1 technically, ours is 1/3. So he's exactly right. Our slope has to be the opposite reciprocal of their slope. Now, what are we, Drew, supposed to do with the point and the slope that we now have? What's step 2? So we're going to plug the point and the slope into the point slope formula. Okay, let's write that down. Y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. That is the point slope formula. So Drew, keep helping me. Y minus, what's the y coordinate of the point they gave us? 5 equals, what's our slope? 1/3 times x minus, what is the x coordinate of the point they gave us? -3. So Drew, anything jump out at you that we can do right now? Good, the double negatives are going to become positives. Now, if they asked us for point slope form, we would stop. But they want the equation of a line, and so our step 3 is to solve for y. All right, so what do we have to do first, Anthony, if we are trying to get y by itself? Say it again. Not yet. Remember when we solve equations, we use the acronym Don't Call Me After Midnight. What's the very first thing I'm supposed to do if possible? Do we have the distributive property in this problem? Yes, so we have to distribute. Y minus 5 equals 1/3 times x is 1/3 x, and 1/3 times 3 is 1. So don't forget the distributive property, 1/3 times x and 1/3 times 3. Now, Anthony, what can we do to finish this problem? Now we can move that 5. And again, be careful. Make sure you're adding 5 to its like term. So y equals 1/3 x plus 6. So this equation and their equation, if we were to graph them, would be perpendicular. How do I know? Because their slope is -3, our slope is positive 1/3. All right, let's look at letter B. Now let's start with the equation. Again, we got to find their slope so that we can figure out what our slope is going to be. So their slope. Is this equation in the correct form for us to find the slope? I hear some hesitation. Is y all by itself? No, it's not. Okay? Dalton, how am I going to get y by itself? What's the only thing keeping y from being alone? Well, 2, I got to move 2, but what are they doing? Because I have to do the inverse of that. They're not adding 2. What are they doing? 2 and y, side by side, nothing between them. What operation is that right there? That's what? Multiplication. So to move the 2, I have to do what? What's the opposite of multiplication? Divide. Good. I'm going to divide every single term by 2. So y equals What's 8x divided by 2? Class?
4x.
4x. And what's negative 6 divided by 2?
Negative 3 over 1.
Negative 3. All right. So now looking at the equation of line, can we find their slope?
Yes, we can.
Yes. I want you to work with the people at your table, and I want you to figure out the rest of this problem. All right. If their slope was 4, our slope has to be what? Negative 1/4. Okay. How many of you at least got the right slope? Raise your hand. All right. Their slope was 4. So ours has to be the opposite, which is negative, and the reciprocal of 4 is 1/4. Okay, now where are we supposed to plug this point and the slope that we have? Into the point slope formula. So all together, if you know it, say it. If you don't, just sit quietly. What is the slope formula? Ready? Y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. So y minus, Trevin, what is the y coordinate of the point they gave us? Our slope is
Negative 1/4.
times x minus, what is the x coordinate?
Negative 3, which is,
Okay,
positive.
which is a double negative making a positive. All right, Michael, what did you guys do next? I've got to solve for y, so what did you do next? Is that what you did first? What should you have done first? Distribute. Good. So y minus 3 equals negative 1/4 times x is negative 1/4 x. Negative 1/4 times 3 is negative 3/4. Okay. Now, Michael, what would you have done to finish the problem? Add 3. Again, please don't forget to add 3 to its like term. So y equals negative 1/4 x. And what did you get when you did negative 3/4 plus 3? Positive 9/4. Remember, we like improper fractions. We like reduced fractions. We don't need mixed numbers or decimal answers. So our slope, our equation of a line that is perpendicular to the one they gave us is y equals negative 1/4 x plus 9/4. And that is the end of lesson 4.3.